Welcome back to the Beacon World League. We are delighted to have you joining us for what is the true start, it feels like, of Season 2. Joining me for our seeding this afternoon, we have Babs once again, who's introduced himself enough time, so a salute will have to do. And also joining us for this afternoon's seeding is Epos, our champion from Season 1, keeping an eye on the competition today, Epos.
Yeah, pretty much. Just going to have a look, see what the pace people drive, and yeah, hopefully there's some good racing.
Yeah, of course, this season shaping up to be maybe a little bit tougher than Season 1. A lot of very good players have entered the open seeding. As a reminder, there are 8 players retaining their spots from Division 1 back in Season 1. Well, there were 10. There were 12, and then 2, you're right, 12, and then 2 of them gave up their spots, and then we added 2 more from Division 2. So it's 8 players from Division 1 retaining their spots, 2 players from Division 2 got promoted, and then 6 players will get through this open seeding. I was right, and I got corrected by my co-casters. Expect to see that happen all day long. That does mean 6 spots available in this seeding. And if we take a look at the standings from back in Season 1 as well, just as a reminder of how things went back then. There you are, Epos, top of the table. Boz finishing just behind you as well. I know you've gone on record and said that you're looking to retain your title this season, that it's something you really do want to do. Is there anyone who you're kind of thinking from the players returning from Season 1 might be a little bit scary this season?
I mean, I think I said it before, right? But again, it can just be anyone from that list. Obviously, eyes on Boz, eyes on Elcon, eyes on Wizzy, I would say. Paco, if he wants to turn up as well. And then from the seeding as well, you got people like Stuffs, right? And he's going to be mental, of course. So we'll see.
Yeah. Absolutely. Babs, I mean, there are a lot of very good names there. Binks and Barboss obviously not returning for this season, unfortunately. But still, some good players.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just stacked across the field. What I'm really excited about with Season 2 is that we're stepping up once again. I feel like some of the players that are going to be joining that Division 1 lineup are going to be even more insane. And of course, we've got Tween and Across coming out from Division 2 as well.
Yeah, going to be very exciting seeing Tween, who had a good time, a relaxing time in Division 2 last season, I think it's fair to say. And we had him on for the seeding that we did on Thursday as well. And he said he kind of needed it. A tournament where he could not relax, not take it easy, but a tournament that helped rebuild confidence, I think, a little bit this year. And now stepping up to Division 1, going to be very, very exciting. Now, before we do get into today's rounds of seeding, a reminder that we will be playing 8 rounds on each of 3 maps. And we have a very exciting look for you. Listen, we'll look at this table later on. These are the players already qualified for Division 1. But for the moment, Deployer, I think we're going to head on in to look at the maps that we have for today's seeding. And Epos, we're going to ask you to talk us through them a little bit as well. The 3 maps that we have, Xenogen, Heartleap, and Maharaga, as we watch this video showing us these maps, kicking things off, of course, on our green map on Xenogen.
Yeah, I mean, Xenogen is a really, really cool map. I'd say it's very, very influenced by tech skills. So you really want to push the corners, start precision very hard as well as we're coming up here. Then you have this little bump that you have to avoid as well. Tech here we go. Got to make sure that you don't hit the arrow here on the left as well. Jump drift, enemy of me, but friend of others. So that will be fun to experience as well. But nah, it's just a really, really cool map. It's got some influences on transitions as well that you'll see later in the map as well, which has a lot more time gain than people think. But I mean, yeah, just a really cool map in general, I'd say.
Yeah, this jump coming up a bit later onto the penalty grass, I think in particular, we've seen players struggling with and also nailing. A lot of time to be gained there. I think we asked Tween as well. He said he feels, I think, 3 or 4 tenths potentially available. Yeah. Is that kind of your experience with it as well?
Yeah, pretty much. I think if you lose anything more than that, you're doing something completely wrong. But I think it's pretty easy to lose a couple tenths on that to someone who's really, really pushing it. But on the other hand, if you have a really good run and you can safe it up, you see you're 2 tenths ahead, then yeah, you can do a little bit more of a conservative jump.
That's here. Just for those watching, that was that jump there that we were talking about. It looks like almost nothing if you're not prepared for it, but it is pretty scary. Xenogen, an exciting map, and one that we saw a few crashes on, maybe a few more than we were expecting in our first round of seeding, so we'll keep an eye on that today. Second map, the red one, Heartleap. Does make sense. The name is at least there, Epos.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I would say Heartleap out of the 3 is the more conventional of the mixed maps. It's kind of like, for those who have played EMC, I would say this is a harder EMC map. So you have a little bit of everything. You have some tech, you have some grass, some dirt. And I think the balance on this map is really, really good because you can gain as much in the start as you can in the middle and in the end. And yeah, you just have a lot of cool sections, in my opinion.
Any in particular that you're kind of keeping an eye out for, that this is where if you need to push and around later in the map, you will be pushing?
I mean, it's hard to say, right? But you can definitely push the ending quite a lot, especially because there's a gear in the reactor, and you can get a clean gear 3 and you can get an unclean gear 3. So yeah, you can definitely do that section, this one coming up here, and you can gain maybe a 10th and a half, give or take. Then you have this downhill dirt into an outside bank to flat, kinda, but not really. And yeah, you can really just push these final 15 seconds. So if it's a close round, yeah, you can absolutely blast this.
Yeah, a map that I think if players want to do well in seeding, they will need to be consistent on Heartleap today. We saw Dark, especially on Thursday, looked very good on that map and had some very consistent runs. And that does bring us to our third map of the seeding pack, the XD Funny Yellow map, as many players are calling it, otherwise known as Maharaga.
Yeah, I mean, Maharaga is, for me, it's the start. That start that we just watched, people probably can't see it if you haven't played it, but it is so punishing, man. If you are slightly off the line to the left or to the right, just by like a quarter of a car length, you can say goodbye to your round. Really precise. Then you have this reactor drift here, which is really tough as well. You can gain a lot or you can lose a lot. And in my experience, it's hard to even make it through that turn, but maybe that's a skill issue on my behalf. Then you have this drift up here into the dirt section, which you can get more than you think, seriously. And then you have these transitions down here. And I think, honestly, the second half of the map is really well balanced. It feels like there's a lot of little time gain that you can go for, especially in the little bit coming up here, which is really cool, which is just this flip. And if you get a clean landing here, you can gain 10th and a half, 2 tenths, something like that. And yeah, then you have this nice ending section just to finish off the map. I don't know. It's a really cool take on a comp map by Intex.
Yeah, leaning almost into a mini RPG style with the amount of transitions that there are, with the amount of jumps that you need to nail, and even that start. I'm looking forward to seeing it. Now, Rumor does have it with the format that we have in Beacon, where obviously the player with the fastest combined PBs on the maps does get to ban a map at the start of each map. That I think a few players, yourself included, EPOS, are potentially looking at banning away Maharaga relatively often.
The thing is, right, it's hard to say, because some sessions I can get the start really good and really consistent, and then the next day I'll come onto the map and I'm very bad on it. So I think it's going to be day dependent, seriously, because I feel the rest of the map I'm pretty solid on, and so it depends on the morning, I think. So we'll see what the next 2 maps will have to say, but it is on my eyes as a bannable map for sure, if I'm not feeling it.
2 more maps, as you said there, EPOS, will be revealed at the end of seeding today, and that will bring us to the 5 maps for the pool for week 1. Babs, I don't know, any notes on the maps? We're going to be watching a video of them after the seeding today, I believe.
Yeah, I think the reputation of the maps that are coming up kind of precedes them. There's been some hype around them already from the inside team, and I know a lot of players are looking forward to discovering them as well. I think probably going to look forward to adding them to the pack as well. A lot of people have been struggling with maps like Maharaga, and maybe by sort of distilling that difficulty a little bit by adding 2 extra maps into the map pack will be very much appreciated for those players. But yeah, if you want to be able to play on those maps in the actual Beacon World League, you're going to have to qualify first. So looking forward to see who actually makes it there.
Well, with that, having seen the map pack, I think it's time to talk a little bit about the players who will be participating in our seeding today. Again, we did have a separate session on Thursday, a bit of a makeup session if anyone wasn't going to be able to make it today. That included Stuffed, it included players like Dark, but I think Stuffed's EPOS really the only player from the Thursday session who we're considering might make a run to the top 6.
Yeah, I think so too. I'd have to agree. But again, it's possible that he doesn't make the top 6 because he had a pretty crashy session on every map, which maybe is going to be a trend that we see again today because the maps are really tough. So maybe I'm being a little bit harsh on him, and he is definitely in Div 1. Not sure. We'll see. But especially for me, eyes on Josh, eyes on Grenady, eyes on Massa, Charles as well, I would say, and maybe Jacka. At least those are the players that I've thought, yeah, these guys will make the Div 1 spot. At least that's my experience, but I don't know what you two think.
Well, we are partnered with eCircuit Mania for the Beacon World League as well, so you can head on over there. The times for the players that participated in that Thursday session have been re-added to their seeding times on that leaderboard. So you can see Stuffed's currently sitting down in 35th place, which means he needs to make up 29 spots today, and you will be able to watch people in real time. I'm definitely going to be keeping track of that, Babs, seeing as more and more players get times added and start to drop below him and see if he can creep up into that top 6.
Yeah, I think that's what we were mentioning on Thursday. Is we were slightly worried about the amount of crashes we were seeing from Stuffs, and we weren't sure if that was just our perception of how it was. And kind of hearing that EPOS kind of stated the same sort of thing has me interested to see if he is going to gain that amount of spots or not. I know Tween was trying to reassure us on Thursday that it might be the case for everyone, but today is definitely going to be where we find out what the real sort of pace is and what you need to do if you want to make that top 6.
Speaking of pace, we do have to mention Josh 1248 BITM's own qualifying second in seeding when the times were on after the time attack session specifically, just behind Stuffed. After a 14th place performance in Division 2 last season, EPOS, that is a massive improvement.
Yeah, it's really, really good to see his progress, because the thing is, he always had the pace in last season, but he was so crashy. So it's just going to be interesting to see whether he can fix that. And he did a season of BITM's BIPL, and he looked pretty consistent there. So if he can transfer that over to the Beacon, then I don't see any reason why he wouldn't make Div 1, because his improvement, seriously, it's just upward trend. So good.
Yeah, super exciting to see. And as you say, I mean, potentially something interesting to keep an eye on there over the course of the sessions. How many rounds is he crashing out? I know you were keeping track in Twitch chat for us very helpfully of Stuffed crashes on Maharaga last time around. So yeah, maybe we'll ask you to do something similar for Josh today, just so it doesn't feel so targeted, you know?
Yeah, of course.
Babs, I gotta ask, the two boys from Big, Massa and Grenadi, obviously both also had strong performances, were just pipped out in time attack by Josh, pretty much at the last moment it felt like, as he climbed right at the end above both of them. But we're expecting good performances from them today, right?
I think we're expecting it, and they're expecting it as well. I think anything but Division 1 would be a disappointment for them. I think they weren't even planning on playing in Season 2, but then discovered the map pack and thought, you know what, this competition deserves it, so they're giving it a go. And I'd like to see them in Division 1. I'd like to see what they can do and rustle some feathers up in that top 16, but it's not confirmed. Like, the competition is really tight and really tough, and there's a lot more players, maybe lesser known names, who will have put in the effort and will want to try and make an upset happen today.
Yeah, with that in mind, some of maybe the lesser known names. I see Scarper, Beta Toast, Noisia sitting near the top at the moment. Could I get both of you to just give me a wild card that you think is going to break through into the top 6 after today? Someone who we're maybe not talking about already, but who definitely has the potential to get there. And EPOS, I'll start with you.
Yeah, I mean, you already mentioned him, but he completely slipped my mind. Scarpa, I think he could be the guy that is really the wild card to make Div 1, because he's really fast, and from what I saw in EMC, he's somewhat consistent as well. So if he can pull that through, I don't see a reason why he can't. It just depends, because if everyone is crashy, then of course he'll make it. But if everyone is consistent, then it's a bit tough for him.
Yeah, I think I'm going to have to say somebody like Charles is probably a bit of a safer bet, as he's already kind of highly placed in the time attack already. And I'd like to see some of that South American representation near the top as well. We didn't necessarily have it in Season 1, and it would be lovely to see this time around. But looking a bit further down, I know that Nyko is in there as well, and he's been having good performances in the World Tour. And we know that anything can happen. You know, these rounds count for 70% of your seeding, so people can drop and people can climb. And it's going to be really difficult to predict.
Yeah, Babs, can you give us a Cliff Notes version then of the seeding format as well? Because it is a little bit different. It's a little bit unique for Beacon as well. Just a quick reminder for anyone who's new, who's watching, as to how exactly things are going to function today.
So all of the players that are trying to qualify have done 10 days of time attack on these 3 maps. Basically, they've been trying to set their best possible online PBs, and those PBs account for 30% of their overall seeding. The 70% remaining is going to be decided today, and that's going to be through the 8 rounds that they play on these 3 maps. And basically, the rounds that they get are going to be weighted from best to worst, so the impact of your best times is increased and your worst times is decreased. And basically, at the end of that, we have a score for everyone. We rank them from best to worst, and we see who finishes at the top.
Yeah, and with that, we are ready. Players are finishing up their warm-up in the lobby, and we are heading in for our first round, kicking things off as we did on Thursday on Xenogen, and trying to see who can get their best time. Current world record on the track, at least the online world record, is held by Nico, a player returning from Season 1 in Division 1. It's a 110.3, and this is a solid start. Lots of players playing today, and that is a large group of players up at the front still.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And I'd say for target times, we're going to be looking at any 110. Everyone should be pretty happy, as we can see Josh and Grenady taking the front at the moment. Nixotica, Noisia, Beta Toast pretty close to the field as well, but Josh is just taking a little bit of a lead here.
Yeah, Exotica, a player we didn't mention in the opening section there, but also kind of, you know, one of those American players who has a chance to do very well today. And I'll say, I also think has a chance to sneak into our top 6 with some good rounds, Babs.
Yeah, for sure, and he's a teammate of Charles in Damascus as well. And you know, Neil from Damascus was in Division 1 last season, but unfortunately isn't competing this time after getting relegated. And maybe they're going to try and get 2 players in Division 1 this time around.
Yeah, this is going to be a decent start. That was the player from Big dropping back right at the end to crash at the finish line, and it'll be Novu who picks up the first round win. Not quite breaking into those 110s yet, EPOS, but a 111.1, still respectable.
Yeah, 100%, still respectable, and a player we didn't mention, but someone that can definitely do damage. Novu's fast. Novu can be consistent as well, so if he can keep this up, maybe Novu's the player that could get into Div 1 that we weren't talking about. Also, eyes on Yan. I completely forgot that he was entering. My bad, my teammate, but yeah, I don't know. Eyes on the 110s. I think we can definitely get there, as we are having a little bit of a pause at the moment, just to have a look at the map. Why not?
God,
it's a lovely looking map.
I will say, listen, I understand the desire to put your maps just suspended in the void because, you know, it really highlights the nice sections. It unsettles me every time I see a map like this. I'm just like, but if you fall off, then you're just falling forever. And there's something about that that does weird things to my brain.
Sounds like you have a bit of a fear of heights, my friend.
Possibly. I think it's the fear of the falling more than anything else.
Well, yeah, we were having a great conversation about sleep paralysis before the stream, and maybe that's what keeps you up at night, is these suspended maps.
I'm going to note just while we're at it, Grenady and Massa both out to decent starts this time around. Both of them did crash out at different times in the first round, so not great starts from the player for Big, both of whom were sitting in the top 2, and that's Beta Toast losing a little bit of speed in the map as well. So our players that were sitting kind of top 5, top 6, very few of them doing as well in that first round as I think they would have liked to start the day off.
Yeah, 100%. I think there's just a little bit of pressure on, right? Because you know you have to perform in this rounds format. It's so punishing if you don't get your consistent rounds, and so you're going to overthink corners a little too much. Oh, should I go a little bit safe here? Should I go a little bit safe there? And sometimes it catches up to you. And I mean, look at the times in comparison to what Stuffs was doing. 111.3, like, it's all right. Don't get me wrong, but Stuffs was blistering in comparison.
Yeah, and sorry, go on, Babs.
I was going to say that's almost reassuring to me, because I know Stuff started out strong, but got quite shaky in that midsection. And I wanted to ask you, EPOS, actually, as somebody who's played in this seeding format before, are you taking into account the amount of crashes that you kind of allow yourself per rounds? And are you thinking, actually, I'm not doing great here, I need to speed up a bit?
Kind of. For me, the way that I looked at it is I always try to have less than 2 per map, because you get a bye, kind of, right? You have 8 rounds and only 7 of them count. So if I get 2 or 3 crashes, which is what I did on Galafew last season, then you start to feel the pressure a little bit more and you push more, and then you end up making more mistakes because you think you have to have a really nice top half, really good times. But I mean, if you're consistent, then it doesn't matter too much. But it can definitely have an impact if you're having 2 rough rounds. And I mean, we saw this round just gone. Josh wasn't in the top 8 of that round, so maybe some pressure mounting for him.
It is a little bit of a touch from Manta. We jump on board with Sven, who touches as well, and it's not a caster curse, it is a camera curse at the moment, but still some players doing well at the top. And as a reminder, I mean, individual rounds are very important, but it's less relevant where you finish with regards to everyone else in the round. It's just your times in each round that is significantly more important. So while the temptation, I'm sure, is there if any of these players are flicking HUD on sometimes just to see how they're doing, you don't really need to push to get in front of someone. Just setting a good time right behind them can be more beneficial to your overall seeding. As the field starts to spread out, definitely towards the back half here. Nixotica crashing on that jump again. Up at the front, a lot of the players who we did expect to see do well today, Grenady and Massa, 1 and 2, we're getting into low 111s now as Charles slots in right behind them.
Yeah, that top of the leaderboard is looking a bit more like what we'd expect. A lot of the names that we mentioned before the starter rounds are making their presence felt now. It's still, once again, not as fast as what we saw from Stuffs yesterday, but I don't think that's going to be an issue if they can keep it consistent.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, Stuffs was just a target time, right? But if they're driving their own game and they're looking at their lobby at the moment, they're saying, okay, this is all I need to do to get the Div 1 slot, then yeah, just drive around, get around the map, and Bob is in fact your uncle.
So I'm interested to see as well. I think one of the things that, as you mentioned, Babs, happened to Stuffs was he had a few crashy rounds in the middle, and then by the end, it looked like to me that the pressure was on him, that he felt he had to set a much faster time later. And there's the push-pull there, right, of feeling that you need to set a very fast round, and so you're risking more than you're comfortable with because you've crashed before, and then that leads to you crashing again in the following round, and all of a sudden you're feeling more and more pressure to set a good time.
Yeah, that's exactly it. And we were also talking about if maybe playing sort of with nobody who was on the same level as him, if that was to his disadvantage, where some of the players playing today are going to have other players of similar place in those rounds and might feel a lot more comfortable in that sort of scenario. Oof. That's a great section from Massa, but I think Grenady actually might have had a bit of a clip.
Yeah. Had a touch on the wall. Hasn't lost a huge amount of speed. Is still sitting near the top. Lost about 2-3 tenths, it looks like, off of that clip. Will still set a solid time. Massa and Charles neck and neck, and neither of them can break the 111 mark, but those are still very solid times. And for both of them, I think very consistent. Massa in particular, after a little bit of a rough round one, is setting he's on the pace. He is setting the same times over and over.
Yeah, 100%. Massa looking consistent. And like Babs mentioned earlier, the wild card, Charles, coming into play here. He's doing some pretty good rounds, round after round. So Charles is looking pretty solid, I have to say.
Yeah, and we will have to apologize to Stuff there, Babs. It was nothing to do with mental. He was just playing with a heavy fever and sweating too much to focus.
I mean, that sounds like excuses to me. I don't think your health should be impacting you. As I know that the motivator is playing today, somebody who put in an insane grind in Division 1 to even just qualify. Was trying to repeat that same feat today, but unfortunately has had a few health issues and is playing was being a bit mitigated today. So best of luck to them.
Yeah, absolutely. Question from Twitch chat as well about how the points work. There aren't really points. This is just rounds to set as many good times as possible. All of those times will then count, with your best time counting the most towards your qualification. If you want to see in real time how that's affecting the standings, head on over to eCircuit Mania and look for the Beacon World League Season 2 in tournaments over there. We are partnered with eCircuit Mania. They are providing stats for the event, as Charles will not be setting a great time on this round. Josh battling Grenady at the front. I want to see someone break the 111. Maybe this is the round it happens.
I think we're a little far off, but Josh had a really, really good end sector by the looks of it, so maybe he breaks the barrier? Yeah, he does! Barely! 110.994, the first player to break the barrier, so that's got to boost his confidence.
This is what impresses me so much with Josh, is that his sort of rise as a mixed player has been incredibly quick. And as somebody myself who tries to get better at competitions with everyone I play, the pressure is something that gets to me so much, whereas it just doesn't seem to phase Josh at all.
Yeah, you got to respect it, and it's definitely a trait in your skill set. If you can just let pressure just graze by your shoulder and you don't think of it, then it's definitely a massive help, because you can just kind of drive you around, do what matters, and yeah, Josh seems to have that for sure.
Well, as we get through the rounds here on Xenogen, we will start to see Stuffs not move fully up the leaderboard just yet, although he has moved up 5 places already. But definitely on the specific Xenogen times, we will see Stuffs start to climb up and get a sense of maybe how he did in his session on Thursday compared to the others. At the moment, Grenady first place on the map, Massa in second, Jacka in third, and then Josh in 4th place. So starting to get a little bit of a sense as we run out of rounds of how things might settle in on this map and who's going to need to maybe push a little bit on our second set of maps, who's going to need good times to break that top 6.
Yeah, and as a bit of a biased cast, I'm pretty happy to hear that Josh is in 4th, because, I mean, he said to me that this is the one he was scared about playing, so if he's 4th on his arguably worst map, then we're looking at Josh Div 1, maybe?
Well, bad like news here, Epos. He's not having a great round this time around.
Yeah.
Which will pull him down a little bit, but should be okay. That is a good time from Novu at the top, who I think quietly has set some very good times, but has had a few crashy rounds as well.
Yeah, absolutely. We mentioned Novu yesterday, a good friend of Ploms, and Ploms was playing, on Thursday. Didn't have such a great seeding rounds, I don't believe, but Novu definitely showing up today. Again, a bit like Josh, sort of somebody who has emerged relatively recently as a strong mixed competitive player and has joined Evo by doing that. And yeah, definitely somebody to look out for who could be a dark horse to qualify.
Be interesting as our producer slash admin slash man who does many things for the broadcast, Chris, has noted in Twitch chat there. Players do get one free round. You will get one round per map that is not counted towards your final seeding position. So you can afford one crashed round, maybe two, with one of them being counted for very little. But does mean that it's not the end of the world to have one bad round.
Yep, 100%. I think that's the nice thing about this format as well. You get 8 rounds and one of them you sort of put away, which is very nice. You can just kind of do what you're meant to do in match, kinda, I'd say. So
yeah,
it's really nice, really good format.
Yeah,
Josh kinda do be cooking in this round.
Yeah, splits look pretty decent. He could definitely get the sub at this point. I'd say if he gets a pretty nice low jump into this section, which it looks like he does get the low jump, then there's potential. It's pretty close, but he's gonna clock in a 110.94. He'll be happy with that for sure.
Delighted. That's 2 sub 111s for Josh as well so far. The only person to do that so far in this lobby, and with only 1, maybe 2 rounds, I think, where we said, yeah, Josh has actually fully crashed out and has not had a great time of it. Josh, looking to have a very, very good showing on this map, has moved up to 3rd place on the map overall. But as we rack up the rounds as well, Stuffs is going to start rapidly climbing the leaderboard. In fact, has jumped to 1st already.
No, he's
that can't be right.
That can't be right.
That would be crazy. I feel like he crashed too often on Xenogen for that to be right. We'll wait and see. Maybe it's right.
Then again, let's not forget that he did have the record. He did have the record in TA, so it does count for quite a bit.
Stuffs, with a round to go, has already claimed the record. Now, players will get to discard a map, maybe one bad round if they set another good time here as well. So there will be a little bit of shuffling left to go at the top, but does mean that based on one map nearly finished here, Stuff's off to a good start as Josh looking to set one more good round and potentially climb a little bit higher up the leaderboard on Xenogen.
Yeah, and I'd say the past couple of rounds, it's been a little bit quiet from the big players. As I'm mentioning, they're pushing Josh at the moment, coming into the first pen section where you're engine off. Got to stay close to this wall, stay close to the left, exit pretty clean, and everyone gets it really, really good there. Everyone's pushing for the first place here. Jumping into the second penalty section, and it looks like Grenady, Josh, and Massa get it pretty similar. Coming down to the end, don't hit the wall on the left. Grenady smacks in a 90.
Oh, look at that.
Josh smacks a 92.
Cool.
Massa with a 0.0. That's a nice round from the boys.
That's the sort of round that, as a player, if I was Josh, I would be taking a screenshot of that, pinning it on the wall. That's
Love
lovely
it.
to see.
Well, feeling good about that. That will wrap things up on Xenogen. Big winner. Stuffed, honestly. Walks out on top of that with solid times, as it turns out. As you said, Babs did do best in the time attack overall, but apparently did well enough in those rounds too to walk away with the best times on Xenogen as a whole. Grenady comes in 2nd place on the map. Josh, with that final round, moves above Massa, was behind him going into that round, moves ahead of him after that round into 3rd. Massa 4th on the map. 5th on the map, Nixotica had a very solid performance as well. And then Beta Toast actually sneaks into 6th, who we didn't really pay much attention to, I feel like, was just banging in solid times behind the players going absolutely fastest.
Yeah, pretty impressive from Beta Toast, because like you said, it wasn't really a player of mention, but I guess he was just doing his solid times round after round. And moving back to the topic of Stuffs, I think he retained that first spot, mainly because his times were so top heavy, right? Like he did maybe 3.6s, whereas the best time we saw here was 0.9 flat. So yeah, definitely because of how top heavy his good times were, I think that definitely carried him for sure, which is great for him. I'm sure he's going to be feeling a lot more confident now.
Yeah, especially I think your top 3 times with the way the maths works out account for nearly 40% of your overall seeding score on an individual map. So having 3 times that are 3/10 ahead of what anyone else set will absolutely leapfrog you up that leaderboard.
Yeah, and I think some of the big losers actually on Xenogen are Charles and Scarper, you know, who are down in 9th and 10th on that map. But then again, that's not the end of the world. That's not a terrible performance. They can pick that up if they have a better Maoraga and Heartleap.
And it
Speaking
will
of
be
Mahoraga,
Mahoraga.
the
Oh,
funny yellow
baby.
map. Let's go. All right, watching for the start, coming into the hardest bit of the map, in my opinion, and we see players fly out left, right, and center, which is absolutely lovely to see. Top of the table, looking like Charles Grenadi's there. Pretty nice to see. Love a bit of Mahoraga.
It's exciting, and if Charles wants to recover, did have a very good Mahoraga in time attack, so if Charles can have some good times here, he can kind of Xenogen in the past. I mean, it was a 9th place for Charles on Xenogen, which is not the end of the world. I mean, a 2nd or 3rd here, potentially, on Mahoraga, absolutely balances that out. Does put you straight back into the running for top 6 overall.
Yeah, and some players, let's not forget, we're talking about the top 6 only, but a lot of players are looking for their qualification, just, full stop, into Div 2. And, some of the players that we're talking about for Div 1 this season came through Div 2 last season. Josh finished 14th in Division 2 last season, and is now looking to qualify for Division 1. That's, extremely impressive.
Yeah, first round times 109.224, current world record on the map at 108.518, set by Stuffed, but I don't know, EPOS, to me that feels like an okay time. I think we were seeing a little bit lower maybe from Stuffed and from Shafi as well, did very well on Mahoraga on Thursday.
Yeah, 100%. But again, I think on this map, the main thing is just your consistency. If you can get the rounds in without having too many mistakes on this, you're just going to do well. So I think anytime under 109.5, seriously, is more than enough to get Div 1 if you're consistent with it.
Be exciting. Quick Stuffed update. Currently 24th overall on the seeding after 1 map and 1 round, so he's already nearly managed to sneak his way at the least into a Div 2 spot, Babs.
Yeah, but I think he's not going to be. He wouldn't be happy with Div 2. It's going to come down to the wire, potentially, but because I know his Mahoraga really wasn't as he would have wanted it to be. But once again, his times were slightly top heavy, like they were on Xenogen, so that could carry him once again. It's those extra few 2 or 3 tenths, that could be all the difference.
Yeah, we see Massa and Josh with pretty good splits. They're looking at the sub 108. Maybe Josh not so much now that he's lost a little bit of time, but Massa definitely around there. Taking nice corners, jumping into the lovely flip section coming up here. Bang, who gets it clean? It looks like, they get it pretty similar, I'd say. And looking at the splits, maybe it's enough just for the sub, as we see Manta crashing out, sadly, on the right. But yeah, it looks like Josh is taking the round ahead of Massa with a 0.1, 0.2, more than respectable.
Yeah, looking pretty good. Happy with those rounds. 109.185 and 109.188 is what it looked like. 109.2, excuse me. I'm looking at incorrect places on the screen because there's a lot happening. But we're keeping on top of it. And yeah, consistent times there from the players at the top. Charles, again, looking pretty solid.
Yeah, I felt a little bad for Manta there. He got... this map feels like a bit of a journey, You're starting here, and the first page of that story, Sven didn't get through, but, Manta in that last round had a really quite decent round, and unfortunately just had a little slight clip at the end, which means that it didn't end up being the time that he would have wanted it to be, but it looks like a lot of players have made it through this start this time around, as I say that.
We see some start clips here, which is unfortunate for them, but again, look who we see at the front. It's Josh battling out with Beta Toast, which is looking very good for him, followed by Charles, Nako, and Grenadi. And the splits are looking much better this round, actually. 2 tenths faster than what they were doing before. Transition to the grass looks clean, and looks like we're setting up for a good round.
Yeah, solid. Close between these top 3, heading down the hill and into this turnaround. The flip and into it, and it looks cool as hell, and it's hard to tell what's happening inside the car, but both Josh and Beta Toast absolutely nail it. Charles has disappeared from the splits, unfortunately, but Grenadi is just behind these top 2 and has a little bit more speed than Beta Toast will overtake towards the finish line from Josh. That's 108.872. That is quick. About 2 tenths quicker than anyone else has gone on the map so far.
Looking really impressive, Josh. I remember I was watching him on Thursday doing some rounds on this, and he was getting some 0.6s even in rounds, which was just, kind of insane. Yeah.
Yep.
Yep, that's very impressive from Josh. I think, honestly, just breaking that 108, 109 barrier, dipping into the 108s is impressive enough. Especially if we can dip into 0.6, 0.5 territory. That's very fast.
And if he keeps that up through Maoraga, he's already had a good performance on Xenogen. He could almost take Heartleap sort of, kind of comfortably, safe it a little bit, because he'll probably have a position in Division 1 considering his performance so far.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'd say that Heartleap is definitely the map that you can save the most out of this map pack.
Yeah.
So if he just plays his card right after a good performance here, then yeah, he should be looking dandy.
Feeling okay about it. Manta's going to touch again. Manta is currently very much in the thick of it for the battle for top 6, sitting in 7th overall, just behind Jacka, just behind Nixotica and Charles at the moment. We'll be looking to pick up a few more rounds, because while that is 7th place at the moment, I mean, don't forget that Stuffed is still on that long climb up the leaderboard with all of his times already applied from Thursday's seeding. So I think you kind of want to be in almost 5th place, depending on how things shake out by the end of the day, in order to lock in that top 6.
Yeah, he's currently just broken the gap into Division 2. He's currently sitting 22nd, of course, with those times from Thursday. That was a lovely transition from Grenade. Got really early grip, which means he's extra speed in front of Josh, who actually clips. So it's not going to be a great round for him this time around, but it looks like it could be a good time for the big player. What is it going to be? It's a 109 flat, which is very respectable.
Yeah, happy with those if you can knock them in consistently. A little bit further down the field, Charles, after a strong start on the map, has slowed down a little bit. 11th fastest in the round, and that means outside the 111s altogether into a 112 position. And I think Grenade, Josh, and Massa in particular, all three of them having solid performances. Grenade and Josh especially, maybe looking to extend their gap over the field. Now, I say that. Nixotica also having a great map so far.
Yeah. Kind of whisper
ahead.
quietly sort of situation with Nixotica. Having those decent rounds, maybe not in that like top 5, but if you're getting 6s and 7s every round, then it can be consistent enough.
It's consistent enough to have him second on the map after the rounds we played so far.
Yeah, you really can't stress enough with this format how important your consistency is. If you can dip in some crazy times, but you're going to crash the other 6, it doesn't really matter. But if you can stay around the 6, 7, maybe 5 occasionally, 4 mark, then you just guarantee yourself the spot, right? Because you're just being so consistent with it. As we see Grenade taking a massive lead over everyone, actually. Splits looking fast. Yeah, Splits are looking very fast indeed. Followed by Massa, just maybe 4/10ths behind. He's on a belter.
Yep. One of the skills that I really do need to master at some point is actually remembering splits on checkpoints. It is something that slips away from me far too often, but I'm glad you're here to tell us, EPOS, for the moment. The Grenade is looking quick, because I would have just eyeballed it and been like, yeah, he's looking quick because he's ahead of everyone else. Not always the case. Sometimes everyone else makes mistakes, but this time around, Grenade's looking good. The turnaround looked quick as well. As we come up towards the end of the map, we'll wait and see what the time ends up being, barring any mistakes. Maybe a little bit shaky off of the grass just there.
Yeah, just about a sub.
108.9, just about breaking under that barrier, and you'll be delighted with those. Confidence builders as well. When you've 1 or 2 good times in the bank as well, you just feel a lot better about your later rounds of the seeding.
Yeah, 100%. I think Grenade now, especially, he's been putting in the times every round. He can just take it pretty chilled from now. And I think he's already guaranteed his spot as long as he isn't super, super crashy from now on, which isn't a trait I know Grenade for. So I think he should be pretty safe.
Yeah, came second in seeding on Xenogen with Mahoraga nearly over, is currently sitting in first on that. We'll wait and see how things shake out in the last round or 2 here as well. But as you say then, should be fine when it comes to Heartleap, as that is quick, as Grenade just seems to get the zoop even though there's no reactor there.
Yeah, I mean, Grenade just has a lock on it, right? It looks like it, because he's getting the start every time, whereas everyone else seems to dip maybe 2/10ths behind him. And again, his splits are looking very, very quick. And he touches the right. I would like to congratulate myself for my first caster curse. And I'm going to award myself a medal.
I call it an elite club, but I feel like anyone who's ever been on a broadcast can claim one, so...
I could audibly hear the Yo Mama joke coming from Grenade's stream over in Germany as he clipped that wall.
Yeah. Love it.
Beta Toast and Nixotica both got very close to the right wall there. Both of them survived, but Massa with a better line has carried a little bit more speed into these final sections. Wheel to wheel with Nixotica. All 3 of them, though, should be looking for solid times in the low 111, or 110s, I should say. Sorry, 19s. I can't remember what map we're on, and it's all low 19s for them.
And again, look at Nixotica. He's just banging in the times again and again. I don't know where his position is at the moment, because I don't have the tab open. But look at him. He's looking very, very comfy for his Div 1 spot, which I don't think many people saw coming, to be fair.
A good friend, obviously, of Neil, who was in Division 1 last time. And as we get to the end of Mahoraga, yeah, Nixotica is currently in second behind Grenadi. And actually, Jaka is in third on the map currently. Stuffs is down in that 6th position with a round to go, I believe.
Yeah, I guess so. And he's going to be more than happy with that.
Yeah, I mean, look, you break top 6 on all 3 of the maps in seeding, then as far as I'm concerned, the map says you're probably in the top 6 overall. Stuff sits in 7th place at the moment on this map with a round to go, so should be climbing up a little bit, and has climbed about halfway through Div 2 on the overall leaderboard. Sits in 12th at the moment, needs to overtake 6 more players in order to break into that top 6 with a map to go.
It's looking promising at the moment, considering the pace at which he's been climbing the leaderboard as we go through these rounds. But again, Hartleap, he did have a few mistakes as well, where he did look strong. He looked like he had the pace, but a few mistakes towards the end of the maps kind of threw away some of those rounds, where some of these players that we're seeing today are a good bit more consistent. This is a good round for Nyko that we haven't actually seen that much towards the front. He's up with Josh and Grenadi, and Josh is maybe looking to take another first place to close out a good Mahoraga, and it's going to be a 109.1. Very, very well played from the British player.
Yeah, he's got to be happy with that. I mean, maybe it's not the pace he was looking for, but he definitely did a good job. He's definitely in the top 6, I assume. Definitely assuming, right?
Yeah. I believe waiting for the final round times to come in, but was in 4th place before that round. A solid time in that last round should leave him comfortably in the top 6. He is in fact 3rd, leaving Mahoraga. That is 3rd on Xenogen and 3rd on Mahoraga. He is 3rd going into Heartleap as well. Well, we're nearly leaving Mahoraga behind. We've got one more round. Yeah. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, okay. I'm not worrying about it. As we see the start come in, and Jaka with an absolutely lovely start there. Low 0.2 split, which is really, really respectable for sure.
And I would love to see Jaka in Division 1. He was our kind of fan favorite last season with all the upsets that he caused in Division 2. It's just, you know, he didn't want to get eliminated in some of those matches, and actually it looks like he's improved his pace maybe a decent bit since then, and proper contender actually.
Yeah, I mean, where is he standing at the moment?
He's currently in 5th overall.
5th overall, so yeah, he's definitely looking to take a spot, which I'm sure he would absolutely love.
Yeah, I think Jaka in particular will need a good Heartleap with an 11th place on Xenogen. Needs to perform well on both the other maps. Is doing that so far on Mahoraga. And in this final round as well, potentially could go a little bit higher even with a decent time at the moment. 2/10 off the lead of the round at the moment, which is Grenadi and Josh battling it out one last time. 109 near flat for Josh, and Grenadi is right there with them.
Yep. Lovely stuff from the British player. I love to see it.
Well, it was speculated that Josh was going to do well on this map. I mean, full speed-esque elements, and again, reliably informed that he is only a full speed player. I don't think that holds true anymore. Has put in the work to get himself solid on pretty much every style that you can think of at the moment. And ultimately, Josh leaves Mahoraga 2nd overall. Very, very good performance. Grenadi in 1st, and that knocked Exotica ever so slightly down the leaderboard. He'll take 3rd. In 4th place, it's going to be, I believe, I was going to say Stuffed. No, Jaka took 4th place. Stuffed's knocked down to 5th on Mahoraga, and Massa in 6th. So both of the big players bookending our top 6 as we leave the map.
Yeah, lovely.
It's really interesting to see those performances, you know, where in time attacks, some people can get a bit of false confidence, you know, that you can have one fast BB, but you really need to show up in these rounds. We saw some players get surprised by it last season, and it looks to be happening again, where yeah, it's a mix of players, and some really good performances coming in from those sort of dark horses.
Yeah. I want to focus briefly on Div 2 as well. Obviously, we're talking a lot about the Div 1 battle in the top 6 because it is exciting. But there were a lot of players who maybe are looking to hit Div 2, but probably not Div 1 at this point, who did play in our seeding on Thursday. And specifically, I want to focus in on Linko, Shoffy, and Dark. Linko currently 22nd with a map to go. Shoffy in 23rd and Dark in 25th. All 3 of them, hopefully, if not watching seeding, at least aware that they have the chance to break into that at the moment. All of them may be borderline, but I think all with a very good chance of breaking in.
I mean, to be honest, with a map to go, if they're already in those positions, I think they're looking at a very, very good shot of getting into Div 2, to be honest. Because, I mean, you have 8 rounds to play here. and I'm sure people's averages aren't going to stay as close to their personal best. So, yeah, I think those three especially with a very good chance of Div 2.
Yeah, two other players then, Babs, I want to highlight. Demotivator, who, as you mentioned, is playing with some medication today. Unfortunately, a little bit ill coming into the seeding. Still sitting in a good place with a 20th place on Xenogen, 16th on Mahoraga, and a map to go. Could well lock in that spot in Div 2, but potentially a close run thing. And Novu, who we did highlight as having some very good times at times on our first two maps, is borderline right now.
Yeah, absolutely. A 29th on Mahoraga, and his Evo teammate Scarper, who was looking like a favorite for Division 1 as well, got 25th on Mahoraga. So really a map that caused some issues for both of those players and dropped them down the standings quite a bit. They're going to have to try and recover and have a good heart leap if they want to get Division 1, or if they just want to hang on to Division 2.
Yeah, well, we head through Heart Leap for the first time. Crash at the end there from someone, but it's Grenady and Massa who take in our first two top spots. It's a 111.7 world record. Stands at a 111.1 by Stuffs. He is the 10th clear of anyone else on the online leaderboards.
Yeah, Stuffs looks very quick on this map, but I don't know whether you remember the seeding session. It took him a couple rounds to get into this, whereas Grenady is just saying, yo, listen, I'm here to play straight away. 111.7. Very, very respectable.
Absolutely. As we head into our second round, things will really start to clarify by about the halfway mark in this map in terms of who needs to send it and just try and get something absolutely incredible, because they need a time. Your best time, 17.5%, I believe, of the map overall, Babs. Is that correct? So one very good time on the map does do a huge amount of work for you, and if you can add 2 or 3 more very good, or at least very solid times below that as well, you're feeling pretty good. This time around, Massa will hit a wall or a pole. He hits something, and either way, he's not going to be having a great time of it.
Yeah, as we come into a very, very tricky outside here, it's something that you can full speed, but it's very, very tough to. And you usually have to do a release on entry, release on as soon as you enter the banking to survive it. So it's a really cool turn that Roxy's built here. As we enter to the reactor section, turning right, many players keeping the gear. Doesn't look like it to me, but Charles, Grenady, Josh fighting for that first place as we go to the outside. Grenady touching. And now we have the final drift coming into play. Beta Toast wants that first spot. Josh wants that first spot. Charles wants it. Anyone lose the grip? No one loses it. And bang. 0.7 from Charles. Lovely. And 0.8 from the others. Lovely.
Yeah. Charles does need a good map. He really, really does if he wants to break Div 1. And that is exactly what you need to see. I don't know. It's a great time from Charles. 111.7 is very quick. I don't know if just setting 111.7s consistently is going to be enough. I almost feel like he needs to be getting down into a couple of 111.6s, maybe even 5s, and then the rest 111.7s.
Yeah, or maybe like you said, just getting that one good time, that one pop off.
Yeah.
That really sort of carries your seeding. And that can happen. You know, all of these players are capable of doing it. It's just that rounds is a bit of a different beast. You're not in the same mindset that you would be in time attack. And what I'm really enjoying at the moment is that we're on the final map of seeding, and we still don't really know who is going to be our top 6.
Yeah, a little bit scared for Josh, who is currently technically sitting outside of that top, but plenty of rounds left to go on Heart Leap, and he just needs to stabilize a little bit on the map. Should be okay. I'm going to ask you about this following grass turn coming up on this banked hill, because we're seeing very different lines, EPOS, there. Is that just a function of the speed players are carrying in, or is there just a fundamental difference in approach for some players?
Yeah, that's just a different approach. One of the lines is faster. Obviously, I'm going to keep that to myself because I don't want to help my opponents. But yeah, there's a little bit of a difference. It's whether you stay close to that right wall and take the grass banking, or whether you take it very tight and you free grip on the left. So yeah, there is a little bit of a difference in the setup as we see Grenady drop a 61, which was pretty close to Stuff's fast this time, which I believe was a 5 high. Correct me if I'm wrong.
Hey. Great question. I'm glad you
Yeah,
asked.
great question. Okay, sure. We don't have the info at hand. But yeah, again, very lovely stuff from him. But yeah, I think with this line, there's a lot of hidden time gain everywhere, which is really, really nice. I feel the more you play it, the more you unlock, which is a really nice trait in a map.
Yeah. Quick Stuffed check has moved up into 10th place. Only needs 5 more overtakes in order to climb that leaderboard. At the moment, Charles, who needs a good performance on this map, is sitting first overall on the, first on the map, but 7th overall, just behind Josh, who's having a bit of a rough time of it so far on Hartley.
It really is, yeah. Josh, it's not going to plan. I said he could almost safe it going into this, but still needs to set some good times, you know. It hasn't been the case so far, and some of the players around him seem to be finding their groove. Charles is one of them, and you know, he'd happily gobble up a Division 1 spot if somebody falls through the trapdoor.
Yeah. And if Josh is in 6th place, then he's the person in his sights, right?
Mm-hmm. Or in
Very
Stuffed sides,
scary.
who again is climbing. That's, I think you have to recognize, I'm feeling confident that Stuffed is going to take one of those top 6 spots at this point. His heart leap was good enough, it felt like, and seeing that he has performed very well on the other 2 maps, 1st and 5th overall on Xenogen and Maharaga, should be good. But this is looking much better from Josh, who needed a good map, needed a good round here on Heart Leap, and there you go.
Lovely,
A
there you go.
111.6 is exactly what he needed. That round in and of itself may have been the clincher for Josh breaking into Div 1.
Yeah, that's something that he'll be looking back on maybe at the VOD later if he does end up qualifying to Division 1. I feel like that was an
That was the
important round
round.
for him. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and I mean, we saw everyone there, I think, on the top 8 setting the 111. So yeah, it looks like 111 mid is the target time if you really want to set a good round. And I think, Josh, maybe he even needs another one of those. I'm not 100% sure because I'm not a stat man, but maybe another one of those would definitely just seal the deal for him. And I'm sure he's hoping for that.
He is currently 14th still on Heart Leap. Would love a couple more, but he has moved up into 5th place overall. His other 2 maps went well enough that he doesn't need to set the world on fire on this map. You absolutely called it, Babs. He just needs to be consistent and can play it somewhat safe on this map. But still, I mean, he's looking to set a decent time here. Is right up with the leaders alongside Manta, who is unfortunately slipping ever further away from the dream of a top 6. But Charles definitely still in the running, and he is up here as well.
Absolutely. You mentioned that previous line there where some people are taking that inside grip on the border to get that early regrip. And similar thing sort of here. Some people tend to go a bit higher for the regrip and then exit with a bit more speed. Baited went 2 inside. Unfortunately, is going to clip. Grenadi was the one who went high, got that speed and carries it into the outside there, and now is looking to set a good time. He's really wide. He needs to avoid that engine off. Josh seems to be catching a little bit, and that's another good time for both of them, even though it was very close.
I really thought Josh was going to smack the right there. I've done that more than enough times myself, but he barely scrapes into the fin, which I'm sure he's going to be absolutely relieved.
Quick sanity check then, in terms of where players are starting to settle in on the leaderboard. We are now about halfway through Heart Leap, and we are getting a sense. I think Grenadi and Massa both feeling pretty confident. Nixotica also looking pretty confident to make it in. Josh, with a couple of back-to-back good rounds, has now slotted in 3rd overall. If he can keep this up, he's looking good. Beta Toast has a 6th place on Xenogen, a 7th place on Maharaga. I think needs to pick it up in the last couple of rounds here on Heart Leap to lock in a spot. Jaka sits in 6th place, carrying a rough 11th from Xenogen. And then Charles, first on Heart Leap at the moment, and even that is not enough to have him sitting inside the top 6 at the moment. He's carrying a 9th place on Xenogen and a 12th place on Maharaga.
We're on board with Scarper at the moment, the French player who, you know, let's remind everyone, was having a great TA and was really up there in contention for that top 6. But got that, what was it? He was 25th on Maharaga and is currently 21st on a Heart Leap. And he's on the verge of dropping out of Division 2.
Yeah, we said Linko and Shafi both had the chance to climb up. Both of them, I think, now locked in for Division 2. Dark still a couple of places outside and is hoping to see, I don't want to say hoping to see some bad rounds from some of the players sitting near the bottom at the moment, but players like Random and Scarperp, Jan as well, definitely in danger of sliding out of Div 2.
Another 0.7 there for Manta. As you said, somebody who is just a little bit too far away, it feels, for that Div 1 spot, but maybe cheering on Jaka, who's very much on the brink of making it.
Yeah, I think he'll just be looking for a very good seeding into Div 2 maybe at this point, because it looks a little too, I don't know, a little too out of reach, I'd say. How many more rounds do we have? 1 or 2?
2 rounds.
2 rounds to go. Yeah, so maybe it's a little out of reach. So if he does a good performance here, he can just get himself a nice set of matches for Div 2, which I'm sure he'll be happy enough with.
And Stuffed is currently 7th. He is 1 spot off that Div 1 with 2 rounds to go, and the person ahead of him is Jaka. Now, Jaka is currently 4th on Heartleap at the moment, so it is not set in stone. If Jaka has a good final 2 rounds, he could be pipping Stuffed to that Div 1 spot.
And at the moment, I don't see him on my screen, so Stuffed will be happy about that. That's for sure.
You say that, looking at the times, Stuffed, I think, is about to take a leap up the leaderboard as players start to carry a slightly worse time in this round, unless they can set some very good times. I think Stuffed is in position after this round to be officially into our Div 1 top 6. Josh is going to hit a wall. That's potentially dangerous. He's had a couple of bad rounds already on Heartleap, and that could be, well, heartbreaking this time around. Up at the top, Grenady, Novu, and Beta Toast all pushing. Charles just behind them. Nixotica just banking those times, as I think he has on pretty much every map so far. He has been in the running, if not at the very top. Charles will lose speed at the end, and Nixotica will get through. It's a 0.6 from Grenady, but 0.6 I think is right up there with the best times anyone has set in seeding.
Yeah, more than impressive, that's for sure.
One
and he's doing
round
it
to
pretty
go.
consistently, no? I've seen him do quite a few 0.6s at this point, it feels like. So Grenady's definitely feeling Heartleap. Maybe one of his favorites.
Yeah. Hey, remember when I said Stuffed was right in position to jump up? He jumps up after that round into 2nd place on Heartleap with a 1st on Xenogen that is locked in, a 5th on Maharaga, and potentially even higher on Heartleap. Now it's Grenady who holds 1st on the map, and that does mean Jaka has been pushed out of the top 6 for the time being. It's Beta Toast in his sights. They're very, very close in terms of time on Heartleap, so keep your eyes on those 2 players. Beta Toast, I don't really see anywhere near the top there. An early mistake from him and potentially having to carry a worse time after this round could be what pushes him out of top 6. Mass is going to crash as well in this round. It is still all to play for as we head through Heartleap.
Yeah, and Scarperp, who's on our screen there as well, has just dropped out of that Division 2 spot. A good time here could save his seeding and means that he can still play in the qualified divisions for Beacon World League Season 2. He's going to have to try and make it happen. Charles as well, it's looking a bit too late for him to make it into Division 1. Grenady ahead of him has looked consistent all day and looks like he's setting his sights on that Division 1 spot and 1st place in seeding potentially. But who is going to get that top 6? It's all left to the end of this round.
It's going to be important. Now, Beta Toast is the player that we were worried about. He is not at least in the top 8. I haven't seen where he managed to finish, if he is even inside this top 15.
4th.
But that will wrap up our rounds, and Jaka is 4th with a 0.8 in that round, waiting for our times to update once more before we can tell you who our top 6 is, and then we will, of course, let the boys over at eCircuit Mania work things out finally and properly. And we are going to head back to our faces briefly. We will bring you the final times when the scores are finalized and everything is confirmed to be working. But I just want a quick gut check. Epos, how do you think that felt? Is anyone going to be upset? Is anyone going to be very happy with how things went?
I mean, of course, I think Grenady secured his spot. He's going to be happy. Is he sitting in 1st overall at the moment? In my head tells me he is.
I believe so.
Yeah, Grenady's going to be happy with that. I mean, Stuffs, of course, is going to be happy because he's in Div 1 as well. Josh, I think, as well, is pretty safe in the Div 1 spots. Question mark?
Yes, Josh is very safe at the moment. Look,
we can speculate as much as we want. We will make sure we'll check all the data that we have, and we'll let the eCircuit Mania guys confirm all of those results to us, and we'll give them about 5 minutes, and we'll reveal to everyone who has actually made it.
To be fair,
before we do that, yes, Epos, sorry, finish your point, and then we have something exciting for everyone.
Maybe someone who's going to be happy regardless of where they seed is Nixotica, because he's done really, really good. I don't know whether he'd been secretly training his absolute heart out on this comp, but I don't think many people had their eyes on Nixotica, and he's done really, really well. So I think he'll be happy regardless.
He could potentially be very happy at the end of the day, but we'll confirm that.
In order that we're not just sitting here and everyone has to listen to us waffle for 5 minutes as we wait for those results to be finalized, we're going to have a bit of fun. We are going to reveal the final 2 maps that will be part of the Beacon map pack for this season, and then we're going to get Epos's reaction. We won't make you react live, Epos, just in case it's not safe for the air. But for the moment, get ready and enjoy as we have a video showing you what the final 2 maps of the season are going to look like. Mephisto and Kerberos join the lineup of mappers as well for the Beacon World League Season 2. Epos, first reactions off the gut.
It's nice to see we're bringing identities into Beacon World League Season 2 with that ice into plastic bounce, it looked like, as well as like the little flick as well that you have, okay, in the middle. But curb map looked really cool, I can't lie. Even the Mephisto looked cool, but I just really hope there's a no breaks, so I don't have to spam my bug slide button without, you know, sliding out. If there's no breaks, cool section, Mephisto's cool, but curb map looked really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, Babs, you've seen the maps for a while. You've been aware of what's going on. Anything, either of those maps in particular that you're excited for players to get their hands on? Oh, Babs, have you muted yourself? Babs, what's it? Oh my lord.
Yes, no, I started the stream miming, so I was going to continue. But no, I'm excited about every map. I've been able to play these for the last few months, and it's just kind of when you discover these creations from the mappers and just the creativity that they have to make some of these sections, it's so impressive. And actually being able to share them with everyone and the players is a big relief, and just, you know, it brings a lot of joy. So so I'm really excited to see people actually discover these shortly after they've hopefully qualified, and then see them actually in the league phase starting next week.
Yeah, Epos, I do have a very unfair question for you, given that you've only seen those two maps and not actually gotten your hands on them yet. Any ideas on how you're feeling about maybe bans coming into week 1?
To be honest, those two maps looked pretty good for me. I didn't think there was anything there. I mean, just from a first glance, that looked, oh man, I'm gonna lose here, I'm gonna die here, I'm gonna do this. But it's so hard to tell until you actually play them. Like, I thought all 3 of the maps, based on the video, the seeding maps, oh, easy peasy. Yeah, just a bit of tech. Oh, this is just a bit of dirt. This is just some transitions. And then you play the map, and then it's hard. So I think eyes on Maharaga still being a ban. I don't know, depending on the morning. If I'm feeling that first drift, then completely fine. But no, those 2 maps look really good for me, I think.
Yeah, super exciting. Is there anything there as well, just with in mind, and you know, obviously we haven't confirmed the top 6 players from seeding who will be joining you in Div 1 just yet. Either of those 2 maps then that you're looking at and saying someone's going to have an advantage here, that there's another player that you have in mind for us? I
mean, it's probably just a little bit of placebo, but Boz always seems to click with curb maps, so maybe he's going to be an absolute monster on that. I looked at the Mephisto map and I thought players like Massa and Granadi, even Elcon, would be very good at that sort of thing, because it has some really, really wicked sections with like the bug slide, and then you have the like ice plastic bounce in the end. So maybe those players will be good at them. I'm not sure, but I fair my chances on that sort of thing as well, having done a season in the World Tour myself.
I just have to say my own 2 cents are that I think the Mephisto map looks really cool. I really like the white. I think the white plastic all the way through looks sick as hell. Doesn't have a patch on Maharaga, which with its yellow and black industrial port kind of feeling is I think the best looking map in the pack. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, obviously I haven't actually spent a huge amount of time playing the maps, and so I haven't had time to get frustrated and annoyed with it that way.
Oh, I have.
Yeah.
And I have prepared you both with those emotions, so I'm very glad at that.
Yeah, we do have confirmation that the maps will be uploaded shortly as well, so players will be able to get in there as soon as the broadcast is done. Essentially, once we confirm the seeding, maps will go up. Whether or not they get to Trackmania Exchange immediately does depend on whether the mappers are available, but at the very least, they will be available in the Beacon World League Club. For those of you who have club access, which I have to assume is all of the players, basically. Can't imagine there's many people who have entered without us.
No, I don't think Jeff Padawan qualified, so we're all good.
Safe for the moment. I'm looking forward to this. I think we have a good idea of the players who are in top 6 at this point. I think Div 2 as well, going to be interesting. Just in terms of I was going to say the range of skill in Div 2 is going to be very interesting this season, but I think all of the players that make it into Div 2 will be good. Even the players that just missed out on Div 1 are not necessarily safe in terms of getting one of those top 2 spots and auto-qualifying to Div 1 in Season 3. That battle this season, Epos, I think is going to be very, very tight.
Yeah, I think so too. I mean, we don't know the list yet, but we're going to have eyes on those top players especially, but as well, those bottom players, because maybe the top players will have a little less motivation because they're thinking, damn, I barely missed out on Div 1, I'm going to have a tantrum now. Whereas the bottom players, maybe they're more thinking along the lines of, maybe I can force my way into Div 1 through this route. And so, yeah, I don't know. It's going to be stacked in Div 2, I think, for sure. As long as the motivation is high for everyone, then yeah, we're going to have some nice rounds in Div 2 as well.
Yeah, unfortunately for everyone in regards to their motivation, it does look likely that Demotivator will be in Division 2. So I don't know, it might be pretty tough, like, you know, keeping the motivation up at this point as well. Josh in chat does feel like you just, that entire statement was directed directly at him, Epos. Any comment on that?
No comment.
We've got the media training in already, looking absolutely wonderful on this. We are just waiting. Any second now, we should have our results absolutely confirmed, and we will be able to show you our Division 1 table for Season 2 of the Beacon World League. I'm very excited for us to start next weekend as well. Matches will be kicking off next Saturday. We have a few new casters joining us on the broadcast as well, which is going to be interesting, Babs.
It definitely is. You're going to be able to find out who they are very soon. We'll make an announcement in the coming days after seeding. Before we do that, though, I do want to thank everybody who has already donated to the prize pool. Remember that you can support the Beacon World League if you want to. If you enjoy what we do and if you want to give the players a bit of extra incentive to maybe perform a little bit better, you can donate to the prize pool. I'll put the link actually in the chat so everybody can take a look. But yeah, a big thank you to everyone who already has, and make sure that if you do that, you reach out to us, or we'll reach out to you directly, because you can get the official Beacon World League Season 2 skin, which is made by Prof 10. I saw some of the players using it already in seeding, so that was great to see.
Absolutely. There is a lot of nice things going on here with Beacon as well. As mentioned, we are partnered with eCircuit Mania, Prof doing a lot of the work. There are a lot of people behind the scenes who make this all work, plenty of whom are running around, I'm sure, screaming, as tends to happen while we sit here happily on broadcast, trying to make sure everything looks good for us at the moment. As we wait for the final couple of minutes, we should be able to get those results with everyone very, very shortly.
Are we going to have it as well? Maybe this is a question we don't know, where we are going to have the divisions but also know the matches straight away this stream? Or is that not something we will have?
We won't show it on the stream, but if you go to the eCircuit Mania website, the matches are already preloaded with the seeds from everyone, so you will get to know the matchups instantaneously today, which is lucky for you, because we do have eCircuit Mania doing a lot of the work, as Nuis said, and providing us with those services, so a big thank you to them.
Yeah. Thank you, eCircuit Mania, for letting me plan my strats.
I thought you were going to wake up on the day.
Focus.
Nah, I'll pre-plan my strats. Why not? Pre-ban whatever I want to ban. Blah blah blah.
Pre-plan to wake up and not feel the Intax map on a certain day.
Yeah, exactly. This is my plan.
Yeah, I don't know if either of you noticed while we were playing our seeding all the way back on Xenogen, Dan Puletto in the server, who popped in to say in French, feeling blessed to be playing these maps with no training.
Okay.
It's a brave strategy for seeding, it has to be said. As we do, in fact, have results in, we should be ready to go and have a quick look at the players that have qualified into Division 1 of the Beacon World League. Let's head on over and bring up our scoreboard. This is Division 1. Epos, you're sitting there at the top as number 1 seed from last season. Joining you will be Grenadi. Josh1248 took second place in seeding, stuffed, knocked down after an excellent time attack to third after his seeding. Nixotica high up the leaderboard there, managing to have a very good seeding, and joining them as well, the two German players, Massa and Beta Toast, alongside them. Both players from Big making it in, and Babs, I don't think there's any massive surprise there.
No, there's a big German representation filling the gap that was left by those who got relegated last season, and that just gets me extremely excited. Just looking through the list of 16 players there, we're going to have some insane matchups. I'm excited to see actually a few of those players like Nixotica and Beta Toast, you know, who maybe some people might have considered to qualify in this top 6, but who have clinched their spot, and convincingly so, and they'll want to kick on and maybe upset some people.
It's really nice to see, actually, because last time we had Neil filling the spot, and now we have a very good friend of Neil filling the spot for the Americans. So I think that's a really, really cool switch that we've had here from Neil to Nixotica. See what Nix can do to do some damage in Div 1.
Yeah, I mean, just looking down the list there, this is an absolutely stacked Div 1 for Beacon. It's going to lead some incredible matches. I mean, especially given the way that the seeding has worked and the way that the seeds will come in as well. I think every single week is going to see some absolutely titanic clashes between players near the top of the leaderboard, players near the bottom. I mean, I think calling anyone near the bottom of this leaderboard and saying, oh, well, they're down 12th place and beyond is still incredibly impressive at this point.
Yeah, and remember that these players are going to be competing to make it into the playoffs, and that will be top 8 of Division 1 if they want to have a chance of taking it all at the end. Of course, if you finish in the top half of that top 8, you will have a bit of an advantage. So the league phase is going to be important to ensure that you can have a good result come the end of the season. And of course, those who actually are in the bottom 6, the bottom 2 will be relegated instantaneously. And the 4 remaining other players will go into a promo relegation bracket with the best performers in Division 2, and we'll be able to bring you those Division 2 players very soon. But yeah, I'm extremely excited to see what matchups we have on our hands.
Sorry,
no,
Pascal.
After you.
I was going to ask you how you felt about playoffs this season.
Oh, me?
Yeah.
Well, it
New addition
depends.
for season 2.
If Babs, if you could explain for those of us that don't know the advantage of being top half of the league phase, then that would be very nice, and then I'll state my opinion. Of course, I know this information.
So basically, in the playoffs for Division 1, it's the top 8 who are going to make it into there. There's going to be an upper bracket and a lower bracket, and basically, first to fourth start directly in the upper bracket. The winners of that first match will progress directly to the grand final. The losers will have to fight it out in the lower bracket against 5th to 8th position from Division 1.
Okay, then I do like the addition of playoffs because for one,
Thank God.
Okay, yeah. For one, I think the league is maybe a little bit punishing for people who do badly in week 1. So I think it gives them a chance to, they will continue training because they think they still have the chance for the title at the end of the day, right? And it makes it that you have the upper bracket and the lower bracket. It makes it so you don't have a pointless league phase for some people, at least. That was my concern when I saw playoffs. I thought, is there any point in the league? But if you do well in the league, you get upper bracket, so there is a point in the league, and blah 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 blah. I think it's a good addition. Yeah.
To explain our thinking behind that, obviously, like you said, you don't want to diminish the performance of certain players in the league phase, so giving them that little bit of an advantage is useful, but we didn't want to give too much an advantage because, of course, you only play everyone once in the league phase, which somebody can have a bad performance. It can't be necessarily representative of somebody's performance across a season, so you always have that second chance, even though it can be very difficult, if you're the person to finish 8 in Division 1, if you want to go for the win. It's going to be quite unlikely, but you can make it happen if you have the motivation and you have the skill, then anything can happen.
Yeah, and we are getting ready to show the Div 2 table. Before we get there, Babs, just to confirm, how many players then from Division 2 will be competing in the promotion relegation tournament?
So first and second from Division 2 are going to be automatically qualified, as it was in Division 2 last time round with Tween and Acros. And then third to 6th position, so 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th will be going up into the promo relegation bracket against 14th to 12th. Is that right? 14th, 13th, 14th. No, 14th and 11th. 2 11th, yeah. Sorry, it's 4 from each who will be going into that promo relegation bracket. And that is going to be a straight, basically, double Elim. Yes, that's right.
Yep.
Yes.
Going to be exciting.
Yeah. There we go.
I've stunlocked you by asking you about the rule book. Going to be very interesting, as you mentioned. Acros qualifying for Div 1 this time around recently did win the Welsh LAN against very stiff competition. Notable players include honorary Welshman Babs himself, who did lose in the finals on LAN. So that's fun. And looking forward to seeing that. It was fun seeing the Welsh flag up on that leaderboard alongside such titanic nations of Trackmania Esports, Germany, French. Good few English players in there as well, EPOS. Looking solid at the moment. We are getting that Div 2 table ready. We should be ready to show it in just a few seconds here, but I think even just looking at the Div 1 table, there were some notable names who we know then at the end of seeding did not quite manage to get it across the line, and I want to talk in particular about Charles. EPOS, he didn't quite manage to make it in. He is going to be playing Div 2 this time around.
Yeah, and I think Charles, correct me if I'm wrong, is the one that did a pretty shaky performance on Maharaga, was it?
Yeah,
correct me
and
if I'm wrong.
arguably Xenogen as well. 9th on Xenogen, 12th on Maharaga.
Yeah, I mean, maybe Charles is going to be a little disappointed with that, but I mean, coming in as top seed for Div 2, maybe?
Well, we'll find out in a second.
I'm pretty sure it is. Maybe I'm wrong, but I'm sure Charles is still going to do a really good performance, and if he wants that Div 1 spot, he can take it. He just does well in Div 2, takes one of the first 2 spots, and he's automatically in for next time. So,
we are ready to show that Div 2 table, and I can reveal, EPOS, that you were Incorrect.
Wrong.
Charles is not the first seed. Jaka takes the number 1 seed heading into Div 2, and it is an Eterna sandwich for Charles, with Jaka and Manta sitting first and third seed.
Okay, yeah, I mean, we have some really good players there. I mean, Henken, eyes on the prize, Manta, eyes on the prize, Charles, Jaka. Then you have players in the middle as well, like Nako. I thought Nako would have a very good performance this season because, I mean, like you said earlier, he's had some good results in the World Tour. So maybe Nako's going to be looking towards that Div 1 spot for the prize.
Yeah,
And there's some other really strong players there, actually. Like we mentioned Dark, who obviously came through the seeding on Thursday, and Yavzo, who was in Division 2 last time around, has repeated that performance. Scarperp dropped all the way down, but just clawed on to stay in Division 2, which was it was a close one.
Yeah, very much so. And I do want to give some shout outs to maybe some of the players who just about missed out on Div 2, but can still compete in the open division of the Beacon World League. I believe, Babs, and correct me if I'm wrong, that is open to anyone even if they didn't play seeding?
Yeah, as long as you've registered before the end of TA. We did make it clear that you had to register, even if you weren't taking part in seeding, even if you weren't qualified then for the 2 divisions, you can then take part in the open division. And that's just going to be giving people some experience on this map pack, which will be valuable for some to try and improve.
But yeah, some players who came very close. I mean, Random sits in 23rd, only just missing out, unfortunately, on managing to qualify for Division 2 there. Nat's another one of those NCSA players who's a little bit further down the leaderboard, but very close. Novu, Ploms, some good names. Some players who performed especially well on some of the maps, but unfortunately just not quite able to clinch it out. But I do think the battle for Division 2 is really going to be for those top 2 spots. As you've mentioned there, Babs, it's going to be a close run thing. And even for the players that don't lock in those top 2 spots, that promotion relegation tournament, I think a few of them will be eyeing it up and saying, I have a good chance there.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's gonna make for a really exciting final weekend after the league phase. We'll have that final double header where we'll have matches on both Saturday and Sunday. Of course, the promo relegation taking place on the Saturday, and then the Division 1 playoffs on that Sunday to finish it all off. So I'm really excited for that.
Well, Beacon World League Season 2 is ready to go. Players locked into their divisions. It's time to start prepping for the first week of matches. We will be kicking things off next week. A little bit of a change from Season 1, where matches 1 and 2 were played on the first week. This time around, only round 1 being played in that first week. And from then on out, it'll be 2 matches a week for each of these players. Epos, I'm going to come to you for closing thoughts. I mean, with everything locked in now, you've already said you're looking to retain the title. Still feeling confident? Still feeling good? How are you feeling about week 1 of matches?
Yeah, I mean, more than confident. Come get me.
Well, honestly, Babs, I was going to ask you if you had anything to say, but that is the note that I think we're going to leave this stream on. Epos says, come get me for week 1. We have 15 players who are looking to do exactly that. Thank you very much for joining us, and we will see you next week for Beacon World League Season 2.